NPR occasionally will do one of these articles that is, it's quoting from something that's important. But that doesn't make them a force for good. They'll do they're like, it's very similar with CNN. CNN might have even covered this story where they'll do a little piece of a blip of this coverage. Well, here's a little coverage, and then they never speak of it again, and they act like it doesn't exist. Anyway, affirmative action for rich kids. It's more than just legacy admissions. So this is a big new study, and I think you'll be fascinated in what it reveals, that it's not just legacy. It's not just that the rich kid's father went to the school. That's what legacy is, right? It's beyond that. A few weeks ago, the U.S. Supreme Court ended affirmative action in college admissions. Affirmative action for minority kids may now be dead, but a blockbuster new study released today finds that effectively affirmative action for rich kids is alive and well. They may or may not always do it on purpose, but a group of the most prestigious private colleges in America are handing a massive admissions advantage to rich kids over less affluent kids, even when they have the same SAT scores and academic qualifications. The study is by Raj Chetty and David Deming of Harvard University and John Friedman of Brown University. So this is rich kids with the exact same SAT scores. So you can't, this is beyond just, oh, well, rich kids have the access to more resources. They have access to better lower school, better middle school, high school kind of things. So therefore, they get into the better colleges, which is, that is a debate that you can have. And how fucked up is that? That just because you are a rich kid or even an upper middle class kid, that you can afford these best, the best middle and elementary and high schools. And then you get in to the best colleges and universities. But this is actually beyond that. Among a number of other discoveries, the economists find that kids from the richest 1% of American families are more than twice as likely to attend the nation's most elite private colleges as kids from middle-class families with similar SAT scores. Chetty and his colleagues provide compelling evidence that fancy schools are promoting a kind of neo-aristocracy with admission programs that help to perpetuate a family's class privilege from one generation to the next. The advantages they grant to rich kids are about more than just legacy admission. So it's not just that your parents went there. It's even for those whose parents didn't go there. A practice in which elite colleges give preferential treatment to alumni. The economists find that other types of evaluation and recruitment play important roles in giving rich kids a leg up as well. Less than half of 1% of Americans go to these prestigious private colleges. Half of 1%. Yet these 12 colleges account for more than 10% of Fortune 500 CEOs, a quarter of U.S. senators, half of all Rhodes Scholars, and 3/4 of Supreme Court justices in the last half century. The economists write, these schools, in other words, appear to be an important gateway to the American elite. So here's what they're getting really close to saying, but they won't say, and I've said this before when I was talking about the Supreme Court knocking down affirmative action, that the reason, so there's something important you need to know about the American system versus many other countries. In many other countries, it is not just assumed that if you want to get a good job, you have to go to a university. In many other countries, I spent a few months in Sweden. In Sweden, there's a lot of people that don't go to university. That's not a common question. Where are you going to college? It's not immediately asked of someone who finishes high school. There's much more of I'm interested in this job. So you then, intern or work at that job. You learn from the people that already do it. And that's basically your college or university. Now, there are colleges or universities, but it's not just expected that every kid will go if they want to get a good job. Whereas in the U.S., it very much is like, did you go to college? And that's because these jobs, many of the jobs throughout Sweden or throughout many of these other countries, they might look at what you did in college, but it's not like, did you go to college? No, then you can't apply here. Whereas there are a lot of jobs in the United States. The vast majority of quote unquote skilled jobs They just ask which college or university you went to, and if you didn't go to one, they do not look at the application. They want college grads immediately. And here's another thing that these mainstream articles, if they're willing to cover this study, are not going to say is that that's because in the United States, the college and university system was really designed to cement or shore up the class structure, to make it so that the poor and the downtrodden, the average workers, they didn't have the time and the money. Even when college was free, they didn't have the time. You had to work the fields. You didn't send your kid off to, no, get over here and take the shovel, asshole. I'm not sending you to university. So you can sit there and, you know, play with your ding dong while you hear a professor talk. No, take the shovel, asshole. I don't want to hear any more about it. So it was designed to shore up the class structure in the United States, to make sure that those who didn't come from rather wealthy landowning families were going to be able to get to a higher position. And now we see that these elite universities, they're still doing exactly that, shoring up the class structure as best they can. The article continues, childhood advantages are not what this study is about. In this study, the economists compare rich kids and their less affluent peers who have achieved roughly equal academic credentials. Yet even then, the rich kids are still way more likely to get into elite colleges. It's pretty shocking when you consider how much harder it is for a less well-off kid to measure up academically to a rich kid who, from a young age, has benefited from tremendous resources aimed at bolstering their academic credentials. I mean, not to mention, a lot of kids work in high school. Like, they go to jobs in high school. And so rich kids obviously don't have to do that, or towards the end of their high school years, I guess. Many kids drop out of high school because they need to work and their family needs the money. So they drop out and work for that reason.